Wow! Not only did we just see a deer get cut up and roasted, but he did it with a rock.
So ideally what I want to do is I want to get to getting the haunches off, getting the shoulder joints off, and once I've jointed it, you can start getting the muscles off the bone. And in the archaeological record we find bone in context. The meat is long gone, it's been eaten, the biological components like the skin and stuff doesn't preserve in a lot of soils. Because on the bone we find scratch and cut marks, and we can actually look at those cut marks microscopically and understand what kind of tool they come from based on the shape of them in cross-section, and also based on the depth and things like that. And we find that separating the joints, and in the actual joint, in the articulations, we find lots of cuts. And a lot of them are fine and they come from flint. And we've done that through experimental archaeology as well, so we understand how that works. And when they put it together like a giant jigsaw puzzle, they found that there was a negative space inside, and that was where the actual blank was. From something like this, where they would have used something like this to butcher it. And you think this, for a deer size, big old hand axe like this, will work just as well, but this is probably more for sort of chopping your way through, getting the ribs, getting them separated, and actually getting into the bone and getting to that marrow. If I go quiet, that's because I'm trying not to cut my fingers off. So you can see here, I was talking about mussels being in little sheaths. You see this one's in it's a sheath there, and you can see that actually shines a little bit like a rainbow when you look at it. And that, once if you carefully get that off the mussel, that's the dried sinew that you can use to make rope. Other than the usual using the intestines and drying them out, you know, the whole catgut thing. They used to make tennis rackets out of catgut, didn't they? When I went back to university to do my masters in archaeology, I didn't think that I'd be doing things like this. The other reason we're keeping all of these wood chips is because there's going to be some venison off this. That's going to be quite fun. And it is time-consuming stuff, but you can see if I take a little bit more diligence and time, I actually do less damage and take it off really nicely. So you can actually see how these muscles all fit into each other. So this is almost like our lats and our shoulder muscles. And you see they're all in their own little pockets. Or fascia. I had a gentleman earlier. So yeah, I'm going to be doing this probably for the next while, but hopefully we'll get some good meat off here later. And I might pause on the skinning and just disarticulate the shoulder for you guys and just show you how that works. Deer has been hunted in the UK for a long, long time. There's some discussion as to red deer in the Highlands being sort of nominally wild, where it hasn't really been wild. Where in the Neolithic, where they managed the deer populations rather than having them truly wild. Deer are really useful animals in the Neolithic. So we start finding these industries that start developing in Britain. Antler that you can find. Antler picks are used for digging. And we find those in places like Avebury, where we've excavated the actual henge at Avebury. Right down, sort of down 10 metres, or 5-10 metres, we find at the bottom of the pits, you find antler picks, where they've dug it up by hand using antler. Deer shed their antler annually, so you don't actually have to kill the animal to get it. But having said that, this makes some great, great food. Particularly when you're sitting next to the fire, cooking your way through it. So I'm just coming up to the neck here. I'm gonna be a bit rougher around here because it's all pretty horrible. So if you skin a rabbit, I don't know if you've ever skinned a rabbit, and you've done the whole flip it through your legs to get the skin off, you end up with rabbit everywhere. You do that to get the innards out as well. Grab it by the paws, flick.
super important because without it, anyone in prehistory wouldn't have nice clothes to wear because it would all be like rawhide. You need to scrape off all this sort of gunky, gross stuff on the hide that you can see because when you tan it, the chemicals that you're using, either the brain or something protein, you can use an egg yolk, it needs to soak in really well in order to preserve the skin. So a scraper is one of the longest used tools, one of the most important to use. So I'm just going to have to make a really big plate for everybody.
You say you can tell it with egg white?
Yeah, just egg, as long as it's got protein in it.
Oak bark as well, I think has been used.
You can treat one side of it, but a lot of the times you'll just scrape that off. Because,
fur off as well.
Yeah, because...
I spoke to one person, they said it's really hard to keep the fur off.
Yeah, a lot of the times it is. But I mean, you won't really use it unless you're making a carpet. Because you make more things, you can make bags out of it, you can make things to carry water. So you see what I was saying about that shiny... Say again?
Like my hammer stone.
All right. These things happen.
It's not going to be a massive scraper. We'll see a solution. So essentially, if I was to scrape with this here right now, you've got the outside of the rock, and it's all quite crumbly, so you don't want that. And it's also very, very sharp on the edges. They're very, very narrow and thin, and so you're very likely to cut into the hide. And so what you do is you make a very, very steep angle on the part that you're going to scrape with, and that's going to give you a nicer edge to scrape with. And sometimes you get these and they're very circular, sometimes you get just an edge. That is sort of one of the most common tools you'll ever find at a Stone Age site.
What, scrapers?
Scrapers, yeah.
Just because they're so useful, you always need clothes.
So you see all the stuff that's still stuck on here. If you tried to dry this now, it wouldn't work as well. You could just turn it into rawhide. When you start scraping it off, you get more of a surface, more of a type of material that you can work with. Got a really, really sharp point on there. So if I put this onto a sort of hard surface, I'll just use my hand. You can see, it'll really start to, you can see over there just from those two little things, I'm starting to pull that off and you're getting onto the skin. So that's literally the skin, where you've got your skin, that little sort of separation layer between the skin and the muscle and the fascia is just there. You spend all day working on that and then you treat it with egg white or the brains. Brains works because brain stays, it's a fat that stays liquid at room temperature.
The actual brain turns liquid.
It stays liquid.
Yeah, it's quite jelly.
So if you've ever played with brain, it's.
I've not.
The other thing that we probably do as well is we don't know exactly how they would have cooked them in the prehistoric, in prehistory. But if you think about the types of flora that were around when we had these animals, you can start to think about what they might have cooked them with. So things like wild mustard, nettles, and things like that would have been around. The main ways that we do it would be on fire. So places like Dorrington Walls, Stonehenge, near Stonehenge, we've got evidence of feasting. So we keep finding joints, leg joints, pork leg joints, where the actual bone, half of the bone is clear and the other half is charred, where it's been barbecued. And it's the bits that would have been great to eat. When we start looking at them objectively, we can date them to very, very, very sort of accurate dates in the Neolithic as specific events in sealed contexts when we actually excavate them. When we do further scientific analysis on the animals, so we take their teeth, and when you look at the teeth, tooth samples, you can look at where they're from. So we can trace the animals based on the strontium isotopes in their teeth. We can trace them from northern England and Scotland. So these animals have been herded all the way down to Stonehenge. They've come from Wales. And the reason we know that is because you take in those isotopes from the stuff you eat. And the stuff you eat gets their sort of signatures from the water coming through the bedrock. And since we can trace the bedrock in the south of England, which is very chalky, and in Scotland is a very different type of bedrock, we can then start to make assumptions. And using cutting edge scientific and analytical techniques, we can then date these bones and these contexts and really start to get an understanding of how and when these happened. The one thing that archaeologists keep arguing about is the why. Everybody's always talking about the mystery of Stonehenge. It's not really such a mystery.
We know more about Stonehenge than a lot of other archaeological sites in Britain.
There's a lot that we know, but there's always going to be unanswered questions, because that's a great bit about prehistory. Nobody wrote anything down, or we at least haven't found anything where anybody's written anything. We've got cave art, which is great, but it's not like we haven't found the
personal diaries.
Yeah, we haven't found the old Rosetta Stone, which will help us understand cave art. So that's a lot earlier than my field. My field is I tend to deal with the beginnings of agriculture in the United Kingdom, which is about 4000 BC, give or take a couple of hundred years.
What can you use on it for a cut?
Pardon?
What can you use off of it for a cut?
For a
cut?
For a cut? Use this? I don't know. But
my friend actually, there's a type of mushroom that you can peel the top off, and it's kind of like a plaster. You just put it right on it. So that would have been great if anyone's got one of those.
So I actually did something similar. During my masters, I was cutting up cow bone because I was going to see how cow bone deteriorated in certain conditions in water based on the type of bacteria in the water. A little forensic study, and I was cutting up these cow bones, and I was using a very fine scalpel, defleshing them. And then I was just like, oh, that's a lot of blood on the cow bone. And then I realised I'd gone straight through my gloves, and it was me bleeding everywhere. It filled up all the gloves.
That's one thing about flint is it is such a narrow, it's such a sharp edge that you get from it is often you're bleeding and you don't realise until you see the blood somewhere else. And then you look at it and then it hurts a bit. But it's a very sharp edge. Another material that people use for stone tools a lot is obsidian. And obsidian's really interesting because it's even sharper than flint, and it can go down to 5 microns of width. I don't know.
Which is ridiculous.
It sounds very impressive. I don't know what that is relatively, but steel is a lot thicker, and so still in some surgeries and some eye surgeries they'll use
heart
obsidian.
surgery.
Heart surgery as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! Because it gets so sharp, it
Where'd you
doesn't hold
find
an
that?
edge very well. Sorry.
Where'd you find it?
It's a volcanic material, so you near volcanic areas. It's a rock that's melted. It was very hot and cooled very quickly. You find it traded sort of in later prehistory, but back in the Stone Age, the areas where I'm interested, you don't unfortunately find any obsidian in Britain. We had to make do with very high quality flint, so I guess they're happy.
So you can see how this is actually making some sort of work of a deer, just using 2 flakes that have been napped just here. So if I grab a brand new sharp flake, that'll probably help a bit.
And a simple flake that has had nothing done to it except being knocked off is an extremely useful tool. You don't have to spend a lot of time making a fancy tool most of the time. If you want to keep it and use it for a long time, perhaps you want to make something fancy, but just a little flake off the ground often can do your job for you. And this was demonstrated really well in an experiment that was done in the 70s by Nick Toth and Kathy Schick, who are researchers down in Kenya. On a reserve, they waited for an elephant to die of natural causes, and then they butchered it using nothing but, it wasn't flint, it was a local igneous rock source, but just simple flakes that had nothing to do with, no fancy techniques done to them, just simple flakes, and they butchered the entire elephant because it was a very thick hide, and it did the job. Which makes you, think about very complex technologies that we see with stone tools. Neanderthals come to mind. They had incredibly complex technologies of how to remove flakes, how to finish them, how to give them a really nice edge, very symmetrical. And it's not always needed to make it that fancy and that beautiful and that complex. So it's kind of interesting to think about the why.
So while I was cutting away over there, I was actually cutting into his ankle, and what we'll see in the archaeological record is where someone similar a few thousand years ago has done the same thing, and you can really start to
It's like taking off
so it should start to come off really easily now. It's just the hard work around the ankles and armpits. But then once this is off, we can then start putting the scraper to use. So you can see that this deer has been hung up by its ankles, with all the blood collecting in the muscles around the neck. So after it was killed, it was hung up, head down, and then left to drain like that.
Shout down there, you can do a deer round chops.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to swing like a pendulum and
That's the stuff for nightmares. I'm slicing myself stupidly.
Blood stains in
Okay. So we now have a deer skin. And if you look at, if I lay this out on here, sorry guys. I'm just going to use the scraper. Can you pop that back down, please? Yeah, you want it for? Yeah, that's fine. It's just grass. So quite often they'd be stuck over logs in order to do the scraping, but sometimes you'd make an A-frame or a big frame, and you'd actually stretch it up into the frame while you work on it. For the purpose of this demonstration, first I need to find the scraper. Second, I need to, unless you can quickly make one, mate.
Do we have any evidence about how they would protect their eyes before safety glasses? Just no?
No evidence of that. Unfortunately, those kind of time periods, soft tissue doesn't preserve. So we've got real problems with soft tissue injuries. A lot of the times, depending on like if it was an illness, like trauma like that, probably not. But if it was an illness, if it was on for any length of time, sometimes they manifest in the bone, and we'd be able to look at that. So understanding the paleopathology behind why certain people would have died, cheers mate, is rather handy. But trauma like that, no. The only time that we can be certain if it was a short, sharp trauma is if you find something like a flint arrowhead embedded in someone's vertebra when you dig them up, which has been found. Or if you find them sort of in the thoracic cavity, you could then pretty much say, yeah, this person was killed by an arrow or a knife or something like that.
And is napping that scraper, you want a shallower angle, right? So that it's not a cutting angle.
I'll show you guys quickly on here. So what he's done is you've got the flake over here, and he's just taken from this flake side and napped downwards. So it does these little really sharp removals, so it creates quite a little sharp edge down here. So I'll show you guys just around here quick. And the reason for that is you can actually, we'll probably take the hairs off if I did that. So on this, all I want to do, and it's quite hard work, I just want to start scraping. You see how I'm starting to get the fat off there? And eventually you can start peeling. It's that stuff there that I want to get off. So this could probably go into a stew if you wanted to do that, and if you didn't want to waste it, but it'll be a bit chewy. But everything does get used. I'm just going to leave that there for now while I just quickly take this apart with a bit of flint. We've now butchered, well, the deer's been killed, he's been skinned, taken the offal, things are being done with the offal, they've been given to the dogs, or you're making stuff out of the innards. Someone's eaten the liver because reasons. We're now getting down to actually taking it apart. Now, depending on how long the animal's been dead for, depends on how easy or difficult it is for you to disarticulate a joint. Using this, I'm just going to follow the muscles round, and you can actually see how that shoulder joint moves. Sadly, because of health and safety laws, we can't share it with you, but I will feed back on whether it was good or not. Two important muscles that you want to try and keep are the sirloins there on either side of the spine. If you can get these off, once you take the fascia off, so this stuff, I want to just get this off, but I want to try and keep as much of it as possible because I want to use it to make rope. I'm just going to try and take the shoulder off first. And the way I'm going to do that is you just cut through underneath. So I've cut through that fascia there, you can see all the meat still on that arm. Just cutting through into the shoulder. And as you pull, this is the stuff that you make rope out of. You can see it's really strong. And that is what I want to try and avoid cutting straight through.
The sort of the mission here is to separate between the muscles and then also preserve as much of the fascia as
Absolutely,
you can.
because you want nice big lumps of meat, but you also want to be able to use the fascia. So that's actually been disarticulated. Right, so got a little bit of the skirt there, but you've got the bicep and a big old lump of meat in there. So if you see that shiny, the sort of almost rainbowy shiny stuff on there, that's what we want to keep and try and keep hold of. And that does take a little bit of work with fine flint, but I think I'm just going to call it at that for now. I'm going to see if I can put that in a cooler box. I might just articulate a bit more. Just one final thing as well, if you're ever using flint on a deer, be wary that you might be chewing flint, because flint fractures. And I've just found this tiny little piece of flint in that muscle there from where I've been cutting it.
It's very not good.
So yeah, it'll cost you a bit at the dentist if you end up chewing flint. So try not to do that. But yeah, thank you very much for coming, and I'll feed back at some point about how delicious this was.
Thank you, mate.
No worries.
Wow! Not only did we just see a deer get cut up and roasted, but he did it with a rock. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button below, and if you enjoyed the content, please hit the like button. We've also put a link in the video description to the organization that performed this at the Bushcraft Show here in the UK, so that you can check out their material for more information, courses, and products. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.